What's up, y'all? Oh, I'm sorry, tree. I am gonna break this little branch, though, out of the way. What's up? My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. Today is the 5th of January, 2026. Dante's here. Little Dante dog. Say hi, Dante dog. Here's Dante. My standard poodle. Today is the day that we're filming this video on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. I'm the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, Evan Strong, and this video's title is Left-Handed Knots versus Right-Handed Knots. This is a video on our main side. There's 4 sides to In the Image Clothing Company. We're somewhere where it's safe for Dante to be off lead, but I have one right here, about 4 feet from my fingertips in case I need it. Okay. Here on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, we allow the body to work. We do it through anything that clothes the human being. Designed in the image of God is our bodies, in the image of Jesus Christ. There's only one way the human body could ever work. No claim, no new information. We discuss the anatomy of the human body in such depth here. That's a lot of what we do, is just give explanations on the body itself apart from clothing, but clothing is the only thing placed onto the body. Anything that clothes the human being, glasses or jewelry, anything placed onto the body. There's only one way the human body could ever work. Seriously. And it's actually raining. And there Dante just sits in the rain. I'm not worked up about it, but it might start full on raining again. It's been raining on and off today here in Utah. We live up Utah, as in the Image Clothing Company, and it's a true desert, especially down in St. George, Utah, where Dante and I will be moving as soon as we can from here in Utah County. It rarely rains here, and it's full on raining. Well, we're gonna stay out here. We're gonna make the video. We'll bathe Dante when we get back, if that's what's needed. Okay, when we get back to the house. But here's the thing. We've got things that are placed on the body, and there's only one way the human body could ever work. The human body is just a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space, as I say. It's just what it is. There's just functioning to it. And there's no functioning to it if there's not opposition in all the functioning. We can take a function and we can go one direction from the neutral, and we can go the other direction from the neutral. There's always a neutral to everything in the body. Okay, there's only one way the human body could ever work. That's just how it is. But this is the problem, is if any of the body's not working, well, the entire body is altered. The human body can only ever work activated as a whole, meaning the whole thing working together. It's all there. It's all got its own role to play. Nothing can make up the role for something else that has a different role and a different function. So we've got a lot of things that alter the body. And that's what we really do here on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. We give a lot of free modifications in clothing. We discuss the human body and eating, sleeping, standing, walking, sitting, breathing, hydration, everything we do, and how to do these things naturally. The goal is natural on all 4 sides of In the Image Clothing Company, like the dirt under my fingernails. Yikes. But natural, neutral, and normal are synonyms within the functioning of a body of flesh and bone and blood and Dante, right? In the Image Clothing Company Poodles is another one of our 4s, and we let dogs stay natural. The same thing as allowing the body to work on In the Image Clothing Company's main side in all the same ways. So collars, leashes, harnesses are like human being clothing, and then all the other ways we just discuss life as a physical being on this physical planet that God designed for us. He designed us too, and the dogs. So the only end is allowing, right? You can only allow God's design of the human being to work, or allow the dogs to work, really let God's design of the dogs stay natural. A lot of our information on In the Image Clothing Company Poodles that is applying to all dogs will actually apply to a lot of animals across the earth as well, letting really any animal that it applies to stay natural, right? Natural, neutral, normal, healthy, right? It's about the health, it's about the functionality, it's about these things only work one way. We didn't design them. We can't decide how they work or what we want to do with them to try to get them to do something. Blunt, bold, raw, and real. In the Image Clothing Company. I get it. You know, a lot of times there's wind noise. Right now there's rain noise that's actually turning into snow. Typical Utah. It doesn't snow very much. I mean, it doesn't rain very much. Definitely snows where it snows. What do you think, Dante? You like it? I think he likes it, actually. The poodle, man, the water dog. Probably likes snow. I've never been with him in snow yet, right? So now I have. Wow. Okay, anyway. I haven't been in snow with him until now, so. I adopted Dante. He's right around 2 years old, coming up on 2 years old, give or take. I've had him for almost 3 weeks, and so this is my first time with him in snow like this. We've been in a little bit of snow. We're gonna get to the video, but this is how we are. We just do it as we do, authentically, okay? We get out of chronic patterning and scar tissue under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. I word it like that because then we can just have a simple explanation of what's happening. Our body's trying to work around things like oversized clothing, imbalances in clothing in any type or way, ropes introduced to the body, shoelaces, drawstrings, anything we could just tie one side over the other in either a left-handed knot or a right-handed knot. And what's ironic about that is a left-handed knot typically is the right side over the left, and a right-handed knot typically is the left side over the right. So we'll get into it. That's what I'm saying is we get into patterning. Our body's trying to work around things when our bodies only have a neutral in everything, in the rotations of the forearms, from the fingertips to the elbow and the two bones in the forearm, the radius and the ulna. We have internal rotation from the neutral and external rotation from the neutral. With our elbows bent, okay? Keeping elbows at the natural waist is a huge thing we put importance on under In The Image Clothing Company. And with our elbows at our natural waist, our shoulders are neutral, okay? Neutral height to the shoulders, neutral rotations in the forearms. We lock the arm out at the elbow, and we've got neutrals straight up from the thumbs, just like in the forearms, but then we have rotations internal, bringing the thumbs in from the neutral, rotations external, putting the thumbs out and back to the neutral, and the entire arm from the hand to the shoulder, the hand is the shoulder, when we lock it out at the elbow. Okay, the whole arm. From the foot to the knee, there's a neutral, pinky toe straight forward. And in those lower legs, from the foot to the knee, there's two bones, like in the forearms, a tibia and a fibula. Oh, I don't know if you'll see this big bird, big hawk type bird flying through. I don't think it's going to come through the frame. I don't know where it's gonna fly. Big bird though, flying through. We've got lower leg, and in it there's a rotation, okay, from the neutral, pinky toe straight forward, which Dante and I filmed a video just a couple days ago under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company here, titled The Pinky Toes and the Pinky Fingers. They're the neutrals, okay? Pinky finger straight out from the forearm. On the outside of the forearm, that's the neutral. Pinky toe straight out the body forward from the foot, okay? On the outside of that lower leg, straight forward, that's the pinky toe, neutral. And from there, we have internal rotation, back to the neutral, and external rotation, back to the neutral, and just the lower legs alone from the foot to the knee. But then as we travel up, we lock the knee out like we locked out the elbow. The hand became the shoulder, right? Doing the same thing as the shoulder when we're locked out at the elbow. If we lock out at the knee, the foot becomes the hip. And we've got internal rotation from the foot up to the hip, from the neutral, pinky toe straight forward, or we have external rotation from the foot up to the hip, from the neutral, pinky toe straight forward. Okay, there's only one way the human body could ever work. There's no opinion to it, but if you're not residing in your neutrals, then your body can't work all together, as we say, activated as a whole. And so then you can try to train it to get it to do something, but that's just physically impossible. And it always has been. This is God's information. We can just understand it. The thing is, if we never altered the human body, it would just work. You can have an amputation, deformity, birth defect, major surgery, anything that's altered your body like this, or through any means of anything that sets you apart quite a bit or a little bit. Sure. There's still Earth's gravity. We put a lot of focus on just how we have to deal with gravity as human beings. Okay, your center of gravity, keeping our bodies over Earth's gravity. Your center, no, but staying in your center line. Why you can't stretch the body, the human body, is just mechanics, right? Those are 5 videos under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company here, discussing gravity, discussing really the entire body as a whole. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos as of today's date on the main site of In the Image Clothing Company alone, just one of our fourths, because I'm in this for life. Evan Strong as the founder / leader of In the Image Clothing Company. Dante's in this for his entire lifetime as well, as one of our many poodles, because we will also be breeding poodles, purebred standard poodles, under In the Image Clothing Company poodles, one of our fourths, showing why it's important to have purebred dogs for the health of dogs, you know, keeping less dogs in shelters, more dogs at homes, through just giving good information on how to be a good owner of a dog, you know, holding leashes naturally so we don't alter our bodies as the owners, keeping collars centered for human beings and dogs. Okay, the jaw is the shoulder. We put a lot of focus on that. Wink, wink, hint, hint. Just meaning, I typed in my notes today that the jaw is the shoulder. I've said it many times, but let's make a video, you know. Almost certainly we're gonna have a video on that before we know it, here under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company. But the jaw connects to the shoulder through tendons and musculature. The jaw is directly the shoulder, as you can see here, if you can see this. That's why I do this, where I do, you know. The tendons and musculature come from the lower jawbone, or the mandible, which is stabilizing the entire body, actually, in our center line. And it comes down through the collar of our top, or the collar of the animals, right, like our dog collars, and it connects to the outside of our shoulders at the edges. Okay, dogs have their jaws stabilizing their entire body as well, because the human body does have the center line. The sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw, the jaw stabilizing the entire body. These things are in the center. We have feet at the base of our bodies. Those feet grip arches inward, opposing the center line, and that's what keeps us vertical from our foundation on Earth's gravity. So there's just no possible way to train the human being to do anything. We have to deal with Earth's gravity's center line and our body's center line. And the musculature of the body just contracts only, okay? Let's figure out what to do about this airplane noise, because, you know, it just happens where it does, but there's no sense in trying to speak over it if I don't need to, so. Blunt, bold, raw, and real. An eternal documentation under the gift of video, as we say. It's just another date-marked documentation under In the Image Clothing Company, you know, as we do. Dante, you like it? Dante's out here. So am I. Okay, let's continue to talk about what we're talking about in this video, because that's the point of making this one, you know, is that there's a topic to it and a title, and we'll go along with what the title is, with the information that we deliver in here. It applies to everybody who has one, or everyone who has a body, which is every human being. Even if you don't care about clothing, it's affecting you if it's placed on your body. There's only one way the human body could ever work. So the muscles only contract, and, you know, we have a video titled "The Human Body Only Pulls" under In the Image Clothing Company's main site, where you are here. What we have with the body is opposing muscles, okay? So we can contract or pull muscles together where they connect to bones through tendons at the endpoints, okay? To close a hinge joint like this, pulling a muscle of the bicep. But there's an opposing side to that. We flip the arm around and we contract the rear of the upper arm, the triceps, 3, bi is 2. There's muscles on each side of a function. So pulling the triceps together on the back side of the arm, we are pulling to extend the hinge joint of the elbow. Even when our hand is going farther from us, the human body only pulls. It's just a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space. Nothing we're ever going to do as human beings, well, you know, really naturally, times and places for certain things, surgical procedures, but we're not going to reshape bones, you know what I mean? What I'm saying is the bones are only shaped the way that they are Yeah, choking up because that's a big point. I say it, but let's say it in this as well. The bones are only shaped the way that they are. There's only a thin layer of cushioning between the bones connecting to each other through a ligament, and that cushioning is called cartilage. And with the bones only being shaped the way that they are, they have to mesh. You know, we're not going to get our bodies to work in any position they won't. And bones mesh really nice and snug together, and they're only shaped, you know, very specifically in a way that they can actually fit together. It's impossible to train the human body. It's nothing to do with me, Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, in this for life to lead it. Right, that's why I say it so clear. Don't believe me, Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. Don't believe anybody at In the Image Clothing Company's team. Any of our poodles, any of our human being team members, right? Don't believe us with our information, because truth is truth. That's the point, is if you don't believe in anything, stuff has to still be there. Things have to still happen. There's people who don't believe in anything, don't have any beliefs to life, and they still exist. So we have 1/4 of In the Image Clothing Company, called In the Image Clothing Company podcast. We're on episode 199 as of today's date, as of me saying this right now, at least, right? What I'm saying is we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ, aka the truth of all things. It's not me claiming that, but we're all human beings. We're all the same thing, placed onto the same earth. We're all designed and created by one God, designed in his image, right? In the Image Clothing Company, our 5-word company name with no spaces between the 5 words. There's only one way the human body could ever work, because none of us designed it. So we discuss how there's opposition in all things, right? In the gospel of Jesus Christ, there's only light because there's dark. There's only warmth because there's cold. There's only closing of a hinge joint by pulling a muscle together at its endpoints, because there's extending of a hinge joint by pulling the muscle together from its endpoints where it connects to the bones through tendons. There's only one way the human body could ever work. It's just nothing anyone could dispute or decide. That's what truth is. It's apart from all of us. And it exists always. And before any of us were here, so left-handed knots versus right-handed knots. What are we doing? What's happening? Why is it such a big deal? Why is he making a video about it? Why does he have a clothing company and he's had it for 15 months with no clothing to sell yet? As of the 5th of January, 2026, today's date, me saying this right now. Well, because it's about the body. The body just has to continue to stay in its neutral positions. We have to continue to stay even over Earth's gravity. We have to continue to stay even over our feet that are opposing the center line of our bodies, right? Keeping 2 points of contact in the feet. A video Dante and I filmed under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here a couple weeks ago, give or take, from today's date back. Okay, the 5th of January, 2026, Dante. I'm gonna pet him real quick. You having a good time in the snow, bro? Good boy? Well, we put ropes on the body, we put oversized clothing on the body where we do, if we do, and boy did I, you know. That's what I say. I'm 26 years old as of me speaking right now on the 5th of January, 2026, okay? Not today necessarily as if it's my birthday. But this year, I'm 26. What I'm saying is, you know, until I was about 24 years old, I was doing just about everything that we discuss under In the Image Clothing Company that's damaging the human body. I was tying imbalanced knots in shoelaces, and shoelacing techniques were altering my feet. I was tying one side over the other in a drawstring. I was wearing oversized clothing. I had tags in my clothing. I had imbalances of all sorts in clothing because I just purchased other people's designs and they're imbalanced, and I didn't know I had to modify them to not alter my body because there's a center line to it, and clothing just isn't centered almost always in modern day from most every clothing manufacturer, you know, clothing designer, anyone who's producing clothing nowadays. We have a lot of things we didn't deal with in the past, you know. Stretch in clothing It's just new, just decades ago from today's date. Tens of years back, they started to make clothing with stretch in it. My grandparents didn't have any kind of stretch in their clothing when they were kids, you know? Unnatural, synthetic, artificial, you know, these are synonyms with the word fake, and these are labelings on our clothing and in our food, and just what we interact with in life. These materials didn't even exist just tens of years back from today's date. Okay, so we deal with a lot of things nowadays we just never had to in the past. The importance of non-forgiving waistbands. A video here under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. We've got stretchy waistbands in the core of the body, which the pants are placed around, where their waistband is. It has muscles in it that only contract, right? The human body only pulls. And so stretch goes the opposite direction of the only way muscles could ever work. And the body's not going to work if the muscles don't. All we need muscles for is to move the skeletal frame of the body, and the skeletal frame of the body is determining its positioning as just the machine that it is. All right, so left-handed knots versus right-handed knots. Do you see where we're going with this? I mean, if you know In The Image Clothing Company, you know, relatively well before watching this video, then you know how huge ropes are introduced to the body. Okay, shoelaces and drawstrings. I mean, that's one of the biggest things. There's a mixtape I made, Evan Strong, on guitar, titled Shoelaces and Drawstrings, actually. Placed on In The Image Clothing Company Music, another one of our fours. A lot of what we do on In The Image Clothing Company Music is show the sizing and setup of guitar to not alter things like the neutral wrist and the natural rounding in our hands, which correlates with the arches in our feet. And the hand arches won't be there if the feet arches are not, through shoes, shoelacing, shoe tongue tabs, tags, and whatever else, from the tip of the head or the tips of the fingers down to the feet. We put a lot of focus on shoes and just the feet, you know, under In The Image Clothing Company. Shoelaces, we'll get into that in this, but you know, if you know already. Okay, what I'm saying is, yeah, sizing and setup of guitar on In The Image Clothing Company Music to not alter the body. We do a lot of lyricism, rhythm and poetry. Lyricism, again, okay, I'm a lyricist. So spoken word, singing, guitar playing, we do it authentically, we do it different than a lot of people, but it's really great. Geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ with the messages, okay? So, yeah, sizing and setup of guitar, it's just ropes. Shoelaces, they're just ropes. Well, when I say sizing and setup of guitar, the strings on the guitar are essentially just ropes. Drawstrings are just ropes. We've got ropes around the hood of a top, if we do. You know, ribbons around dresses. Apron knots. You take a sweater, cardigan, coat, hoodie, jacket, anything. Long-sleeved t-shirt, long-sleeve button-up shirt, anything, right? And you place it around your waist and tie one side over the other just to kind of have it with you without wearing it. Well, anything in life, you know, a bag with handles, we're tying one side over the other to just tie the bag together. Man, you know, you're just tying things to hold them places with a rope, you know, but there's so many things that aren't necessarily ropes. On In The Image Clothing Company, poodles, right? Slip leads, harnesses, leashes, collars, if there'd be a rope in a collar, you know, but we attach ropes to collars, we call them leashes. What I'm saying is anytime you tie one side of something over the other, you're tying one side of something over the other. So in a right-handed knot, what we normally do, you know, in this right-handed world, which we put a lot of focus on under In The Image Clothing Company because, well, it's there, right? This man-made world placed onto God's natural earth, it's right-handed. 85%, give or take, of human beings across the planet are right-handed, and we live in a right-handed world. So these rotations we discuss in the body, internal rotation versus external rotation, that need to be evenly opposing the center line of the body. In a right-handed patterning, our bodies get farther away from us, more externally rotated and dropped on the right side, okay? Let me reference a couple of videos, a few videos, however many I do right here, correlating with this right-handed patterning. Internal rotation from the shoulder to the foot, the right foot and the hip, what it really means to lean left. You do not have different length legs. We'll say that at least for now. That's a lot of what's happening in our right-handed world, is our bodies are just twisted. Because the body has to evenly oppose the center line with the feet to grip arches opposing the center of the body, the center line. Otherwise, we're not centered. And there's just bones there, the spine and the sternum. And also gravity's pull is always there. And it's centered. Okay. Hi, Dante. You good? You a good boy? So, we have with the body ropes. And with ropes, if we put one side over the other, what we're doing is taking the thickness of the rope and having it that different, depending on if we're tying the left side over the right. There's just that thickness in difference of which side is over top of the other side. Okay. Or if we're tying the right over the left, it's just the thickness of the rope or the thickness of the sleeves of the long sleeved whatever it is you're tying around your waist, for example. The thickness of the handles of a bag that you're tying to just keep the bag closed. It's that different from one side to the other, just in height. Okay, I mean, just one side is just sitting on top of the other side. And that's just how it is. And so that's happening on our bodies. Picture the feet. So in the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique, hi, Dante, is the only way the top of the feet are shaped. You know, the feet have a neutral, and it's the surface of the earth. Okay? Or the term zero drop in shoe design, just because then we're not dropping off the surface of the earth. The surface of the earth is horizontal, you know. And the bottom of our feet are on the surface of the horizontal earth. So we've got the neutral there, and then we've got lifting the toes, which is dorsiflexion from the neutral, and then pointing the toes, which is plantar flexion from the neutral, bottom of the foot. But the bottom of the foot's just half the function. That's the sole of our shoe. So zero drop, the term in any brand of shoe, because that's the surface of the earth's angle. And we're just a mechanical machine placed onto the rock that is our earth that's just in space here. Okay, and then the top of the feet, though, that's just the other half of their function. And that's determined by the lacing of the shoes and the upper of the shoe, which the lacing, which is just a rope, we call a shoelace, weaved through holes in the top of the upper of the shoe, we call eyelets. Okay, so we can focus on the sole of the shoe. That's half the function, plantar flexion. But we have to focus on the top of the shoe. That's half of the foot's function, dorsiflexion. Okay, there's that. Yeah, I mean, there's opposition to everything, or we wouldn't move. You know, you'd just move to one direction and you'd be done. But you'd never move there if you didn't come from at least the neutral, and then on the other side of the neutral, there's another side to the neutral. So there's no neutral in a rope with one side over the other side. You know, there's no neutral there. What I'm saying is, shoelaces, you know, if we tie one side of a rope over the other side of the rope, yikes. Rotations. Okay. So we discussed this, you know, within the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique. Wow, big stuff. It's the only way the top of the feet are shaped. We just title it In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique, just so you can find it. We don't own it. It's just weaving a rope, okay, and a pattern on how you're doing that. But this is the big thing with it, is there's two parts. The lacing is just the shape of the top of the foot, with all the bones only shaped how they are, connecting to each other through ligaments, with cartilage or cushioning in between them that can't wear out, and then musculature connecting to the bones to move them through tendons. And the muscles only track in line from the endpoints where they're inserting to bones, and they only pull. There's only one way the feet work. That's a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company here. I filmed in beautiful St. George, Utah, back to back with where there, with there is only one way the hands work. Anyway, we're moving down to St. George, Utah, Dante and I. But there's just only one way the feet work. And so you picture this thickness of this, give or take, 1/8 of an inch rope. I don't know how thick that is in millimeters for those people who use metric more than we use standard measurements here in the United States of America. But it's, probably about 1/8 of an inch thick. I don't know, maybe about 5 millimeters thick, give or take. What I'm saying is, there's tendons in the ankles and in the feet, and they're probably right around the same thickness of this 1/8 of an inch rope that could be used as a shoelace. And actually, I use this exact same rope from the same spool for one of my pairs of shoes right now as a shoelace, okay? But even the laces I have in my boots here right now, I'm wearing the Zero Shoes branded Ridgeway model boots, and they're amazing. Just credit where people are doing good things. Shout out to Zero Shoes, the brand. But yeah, 5 millimeters is a pretty typical shoelace rope thickness, right around 1/8 of an inch, give or take. What I'm saying is, there's tendons in the ankles and the feet, and they're about the same thickness. Okay, there's little thin muscles throughout the body, and some of them are very thin, close to the same thickness as a rope that we're tying over the body. So you picture you're tying a rope around your ankle to keep your foot on your body inside of a shoe. There you go. Okay. Your foot's going to stay on your body, but the foot that's on your body needs to stay inside the shoe if your shoe's going to stay on. And while it's in there, we need to always stop laces at ankle flexion, right at the angle of the ankle there, okay? A video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. Always stop laces at ankle flexion, okay? Always stop lacing of the shoes at ankle flexion, okay? That's just where it flexes. So it's like when we talk about where clothing sits under In The Image Clothing Company, and it applies to everybody who has one, which is every human being, right? Everyone who has a body. Everyone. Because we all have a body, right? Of some type. We talk about where clothing sits for the functionality of the human being. It's about the angles and the positions it's placed onto the body. Okay, same with shoelaces, same with drawstrings, same with ropes on the body. Well, now we've got a left-handed knot or a right-handed knot, and somewhere in between there's a neutral. But this is how it works. The left side of the body is the left foot opposing the center line, and the right side of the body is the right foot opposing the centered line. So it's entirely okay to have knots different on each of our feet because our feet are on different sides of our body. But this is what we have to have. On the left foot, we do a right-handed knot. We tie the left side over the right side and then tuck it underneath. The reason why you put the left side over the right, typically being right-handed, is because you're using your right hand to do the work, the dexterity of tucking the rope underneath. Your left hand can just place the left side over the right, but then being right-handed, once you've taken the left side and put it over the right, your right hand's the one that's actually doing the work to tuck the rope underneath. Okay, so we do that on the left foot, okay? A right-handed knot on the left foot coming to the center line of the body. That's one side of the body. And then on the right foot, we do a left-handed knot, or putting the right side of the rope over the left side of the rope and tucking it underneath with the left hand, okay? Because that's to the center line of the body. So we've got the right side of the body and the left side of the body opposing the center line. And then we've got a left-handed knot and a right-handed knot opposing the center line. So it works, okay? It works. The point is, that's what I say, is we always tie our shoes evenly over toward the inside, or over toward the center line of the body, because our feet oppose the center line. So we can tie a right-handed knot on the left foot and then a left-handed knot on the right foot, and that's even because our feet are not evenly underneath us, but they're evenly opposing the center line, just like a knot with a right-handed knot on the left foot and a left-handed knot on the right foot. is evenly opposing the center line of the body. So that's the point, right? That is centered because there's two sides. The opposition that is in all things is opposing the center. And so that is centered then. Okay, even though the knots themselves are different, they're playing their role, if you will, okay? So now we have a drawstring, though, around the waist of the body. And like I said, there's not a neutral, you know, in a left-handed knot. Where's the neutral to that? One side's over the other in a left-handed knot, okay? There's no neutral there. I mean, it's a twist. In a right-handed knot, there's no neutral there. It's a twist. So a drawstring, we discuss. You like it, Dante? He likes it. It's raining again. Under In the Image Clothing Company, the slipped lap knot. That's what I show for drawstrings. Look up how to do a slipped lap knot. I'll do it here, but I'm not going to spend the time to try to explain how to. But we always tie the tail end toward the center line. Okay. And so it's tucking on the inside, and then yeah, we've got a horizontal knot. So this slipped lap knot, the knot we show under In the Image Clothing Company to use for drawstrings around the waist, it's even. This is not the video's title then. The slipped lap knot, it doesn't go along with left-handed knots versus right-handed knots, because a left-handed knot is opposing a right-handed knot, but what they're opposing is the center line of that, which is neutral, even, straight across horizontal, which is what the slipped lap knot does for the waist of the body, because the waist is in the center. The feet aren't. They're opposing the center. The waist band, right, of our pants, for example, is in the center, where our spine is. We bend side to side at the spine. So we discuss where clothing sits under In the Image Clothing Company for every body, catch the literal phrasing, everyone who has a body, every human being to ever live, and before I did. After I die as well, it's the same. Man, woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, any part of the earth, any time period to ever be, you're just a human being. And one of the things we discuss is pants. Pants sit entirely above the hips, but below the lowest ribs. That's what we call our natural waist. Not that we, as in the Image Clothing Company, call it that, just because the goal is natural under all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company, but that's what is called the natural waist. It's where we bend side to side at the spine. The spine is the only bone structure between the lowest ribs and the top of the hips, or the top of the hips and the lowest ribs, and it's in the very center of the body. Okay, we can't bend side to side at the hips without a foot coming off the ground. It just doesn't happen mechanically. The human body is just mechanics. Okay, In the Image Clothing Company, we discuss it as it is because it's only what it is. There's only truth. Nobody could have an opinion on it that mattered. Anything? Actually, ever? There's only truth. But don't believe me. But this is the point. We have a horizontal waistband now, with our pants sitting at our natural waist, and our pants sit slightly higher in the front than in the rear because the pelvis has rotations that are meshing with the bottoms of our feet on Earth's horizontal surface. And so the pelvis falling lower in the front and going higher in the rear. See, it's hard to speak when I do that. That's anterior rotation, which is the way the pelvis just already bends. And so that's just putting an excessive bend in the body. Then we have our neutral, which is just horizontal with the surface of the earth and the bottom of our feet. The term zero drop in shoes. And then from there we can tuck our pelvis posteriorly underneath us and come back to the neutral, okay? Anterior, neutral, posterior, neutral. There's a neutral to the pelvis. There's a neutral to everything in the body, or it wouldn't have motion. There's opposition opposing the neutral. Posterior rotation versus anterior rotation. So we keep our pants slightly higher in the front than the rear, just to do what we can to ensure they don't drop lower than their neutral in the front, because that's just the way the hips bend anyway. The human body has bends opposing each other. From the feet, the ankles bend backward, so the knees can bend forward. The hips bend backward, the lower back bends forward, the mid back bends backward, and the upper back, which is the neck, bends forward. We have to have this even opposing bend to keep us vertical on Earth's gravity. So there you go. With pant waistlines, slightly higher in the front than the rear, sitting at our natural waist. And anytime there's a rope, we call them drawstrings in pants, it needs to just be horizontal, and the slipped lap knot is a knot that will do that. That's what we show under In the Image Clothing Company. Okay, if you tie a right-handed knot, you're twisting your hips. If you tie a left-handed knot, you're twisting your hips. If you tie both feet that are opposing the center line of your body with a right-handed knot, you're twisting your entire body up through your hips and through your spine to the tip of your head. Your jaw's in between there, stabilizing your entire body. We put a lot of focus on the jaw under In the Image Clothing Company. The importance of even jaw musculature, the importance of the corners of the mouth, eating and drinking with the left hand, just meaning non-dominant, okay? We put a lot of focus on the jaw. The jaw is the shoulder, the ears are the jaw, like how the hand is the shoulder and the feet are the hips. There's only one way the human body could ever work. Nothing I could decide, okay? Or anyone, except for the designer of it, Jesus Christ. God himself. Jesus Christ is God is an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. So yeah, a left-handed knot on both feet doesn't oppose the center line, but it twists the entire body. And not just up to the tip of the head, but out to the tips of the fingers, through the whole body. Anything in the body twisted or rotated alters the entire body. Okay. How you doing, Dante? You good? He kind of like nodded a little bit, seriously. You like it, huh? Yes. He did the same kind of nod type thing again. He's funny, man. So smart. Ridiculously smart. I mean, poodles, they're smart. They're just smart dogs. Smarter than me a lot of the time, in ways, for sure. I mean it. So, we can't twist the body, you know? We can't twist our bodies with ropes on them. And the same thing goes for an apron, for a ribbon, you know, tying a dress, ribbon, you know, even just a knot, because sometimes you'll tie like the rear of a top, like right at the base of your neck in the back of your body, you know, on your trapezius muscles back there. You don't want to twist your body ever. You don't want one side of a rope over the other side of the rope. It'll just cause a twist. The amount of whatever the thickness of the rope is, that's the difference that the twist is causing from one side to the other. I mean, that's just how it is, you know. And so this is what I say, you know, we don't know what we don't know. We can't be held accountable for what we don't know. But that's why we give the information we do. Really, that's why we spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. Literally translated, just meaning the good news of God. Because there's good news to life. It is impossible to train your body, to get it to do anything. You'll never get enough of what's not for you. I mean, it's impossible to stretch your body and benefit. There's two sides. You gotta, you know, stay in the center, and the muscles only pull. So don't pull on them. That's the opposite of them pulling. It's no new information, but if you're going to go through your entire life with your body twisted from ropes on it, with one side over the other, right? A left-handed knot versus a right-handed knot. Left-handed knots versus right-handed knots. This video's title on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here. The 5th of January, 2026. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. Dante dog. He likes it. Birds flying around, rain coming down. It's pretty fresh out here because it's raining. It has been, you know, past couple days, a little bit here. Quite a bit, actually. Yeah, he's just sniffing around, enjoying his time here. Hi, bud. Letting dogs stay natural, man. Dante's natural. You look at his rotations in his neck. That doesn't just happen with domesticated dogs in our man-made world unless you're very intentional. Just like human beings, we talk about rotations in clothing. You know, we talk about free modifications we do under In the Image Clothing Company. In the Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification. In the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification. Okay, anyway, the point is, I'm in this for life. And what we're doing is just giving a lot of information to make the rest of my life flow well, you know, our team's life as well, under In the Image Clothing Company, you know, as we build. And the point is, we've been the same since the founding, and the point with knots is it's not just shoelaces or drawstrings, but yeah, I mean, you tie a bag handle with one of them over the other handle, you know, and so you tie a right-handed knot, let's say, in a bag, and something you're just going to hold in your hand, you know, and you've tied this knot, but you've got one side over the other in a right-handed knot, let's say, in this right-handed world. If you're left-handed, just flip it, it'll be the exact opposite in this case. And as you've got a knot here, let's say a right-handed knot, when you hold what you've tied now, if you hold it like inside the knot with your fingers, it's going to pull and twist. Pull and twist. You know, what's in the bag? Let's say if you've tied a bag with the handles together, okay? It's just going to have something in the bag, probably, right? Weight on Earth's gravity's centered pull. But you've got an imbalance in one side of the rope tied over the other side of the rope. So as you pull, it twists. Now, if you tie a right-handed knot in something like that, handles of a bag, and you place it into your right hand, it's going to twist to the right. Look, you've got this, right? A right-handed knot, you take the left side of the rope or the bag handle and you put it over the right side of the rope or the bag handle or anything in life. And you tuck it underneath. Now, if you've got the ropes even or the handles even on the top of the knot and on the bottom of the knot, well, when you let the knot go from being even, right, just to where there's no twist on either side, and the two ropes are next to each other on the top of the knot and the bottom of the knot, and then you let it go, it'll want to twist, okay? And it's going to twist in a way where tying the right-handed knot, it'll take the right-handed knot and try to twist in a position, man, I just want to show this as it is. It'll twist in a way where it'll try to twist external on the right side of your body. This is a big point to hit, right? This video is huge because I'm looking at Dante's slip lead right there. You know, in the video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here, titled Your Center of Gravity, I showed a lot of that. You tie the left side of a rope over the right side of a rope in what we'd call a right-handed knot, right? And what you're doing is taking your right hand and externally rotating, okay, from your hand up to your shoulder, down to your foot, really. I mean, the whole right side of your body, it's all connected. As we take the left side of the rope, put it over the right, when we have to tuck the rope underneath with our right hand, we're actually rotating our hand that travels through our whole body just by doing the motion of tucking that rope or pulling that rope back up and over after we've tucked it underneath. We are externally rotating the right side of our body just in the tying of the knot alone, in a right-handed knot with the left side tied over the right side. And so that's the actual tying of the knot. You can see that you are rotating your whole right side external, but then also just how that is placed on your body, the left side is just over the right, and that'll just put your body into external rotation. Anyway, we've discussed that where we have under other videos, and we'll discuss it more, but that's what's happening. And so the same thing is happening in like the handles of a bag. You tie a right-handed knot, the left side over the right, and then you hold the handles now. As the weight pulls down on the bag, it's rotating your hand to the right, but rotating the right side of the body to the right is away from the body in external rotation. And the body works the best, the closest we can get to the center line. The body, man, we might try to wrap this up relatively quick. It's pretty darn cold. It's raining. Okay, and we've said basically all that I need to say in this video for the sake of what the title is and why we're documenting this as of the 5th of January, 2026. Under In the Image Clothing Company's main site, right? Just to show congruency, we've been saying the same thing since the founding. Also, this is just the information you need to know, regardless of when we said it or whatever, right? Or whatever. Anyway, yeah. If the right hand is being pulled and twisted to the right, that's external rotation from the hand, which we discussed. If the hand is locked out at the shoulder, no, if the hand is locked out at the elbow, the hand becomes this shoulder, right? The hand is the shoulder, straight neutral out from that pinky finger. There's only one way the human body could ever work, and it doesn't function as well when it's colder than normal. Okay, there's just a normal to the temperature of the body. Hey, Dante. How are you doing? He turned and now he's sitting just facing me. You good boy? Anyway, there you go. You don't want to rotate your body away from itself. And so what's ironic about it is, even though we're right-handed, our right side is weaker than our left side. It's not because of our bodies. If we never had anything placed onto our bodies, the right side would be stronger if we're using it more, because we're using it. We're strengthening the musculature of it as we're using it. But the muscles only pull, and they pull to the center line of the body, okay? And we discuss this in depth, but we just do it in other places that we don't need to do so thoroughly in this video, okay? But go look under In the Image Clothing Company's main site. We really, really get into deep discussions on things, so there's no possible dispute. It sure is raining. And cold. It's probably like low 40s, high 30s Fahrenheit, right? It's pretty darn cold right now here. But as we pull on something, or gravity pulls on something, if we're rotating to the right on our right side, that's external rotation, and that's actually just pulling on the muscles when the muscles only pull. It's like stretching the body when the body only contracts to work. It doesn't make sense. It's just only damaging, but we just don't know what we don't know. So you tie handles of something in a right-handed knot, and then you hold it in your right hand. You're actually just pulling the whole right side of your body away from itself. Oh, sorry, buddy. Sorry. I didn't know he was there. He came over and sat right next to me. And I kicked him a little bit as I leaned over. We've got our bodies having to stay over their center of gravity. We've got our feet supporting our bodies that are just underneath us, right? Keeping our bodies over Earth's gravity. Yeah, you have to stay over your feet. Just the length of your feet, the size of your feet, they're your foundation, or you'd fall over. If you have feet, right? If you don't have feet, well, whatever part of your body is being used as your foundation, you have to stay over that because of gravity on our Earth. It's just pulling straight down. And so if we have a right-handed knot tied in something we hold with our right hand, it's twisting the whole right side of our body, not just our hand, but traveling up to the shoulder, into the spine, the jaws getting affected, trying to stabilize the entire body, down to the feet. Our whole body gets rotated off to the right. Like that video, the right foot and the hip, the focus is because we live in a right-handed world, you know? So shoelaces tied to the right, drawstrings tied to the right, things tied in a right-handed knot we hold in our right hand. Our whole bodies are just twisting off to the side when there's a center line to the body. And so this is what we need to do. Just like how we oppose the feet with the center line of the body, okay? The feet are opposing the center line of the body, gripping arches inward, keeping us vertical. The knots that we tie on our shoes are opposing the center line. A right-handed knot on the left foot and a left-handed knot on the right foot. We need to oppose what hand we're holding things in with the knot we tie. If you tie a left-handed knot in something and put the right side over the left and then tuck it underneath with your left hand, and now after tying a left-handed knot, if you hold it in your right hand, when it gets pulled on, it'll twist your hand in toward your body, and now we can internally rotate and stay on our bodies, on our feet is what I mean. We can stay supported, we can stay vertical, our bodies can work because the knot will actually be reinforcing the center line of our bodies. You tie a left-handed knot in something and hold it in your right hand, or you tie a right-handed knot in something and hold it in your left hand. It's like tying a left-handed knot on your right foot and a right-handed knot on your left foot, because you're opposing the center line of the body and Earth's center of gravity, and there's just only one way that'll happen. It's just physics, it's just mathematics, it's just mechanics. No opinion. It's not something you need to even care about. It's just the truth, and it'll never change. So this is what we do under In The Image Clothing Company. It's cold, man. It's funny, I was thinking about giving Dante a bath. I kind of felt like I needed to, but he wasn't even really dirty. I mean, he was pretty darn clean. And then we came over here. Now it's raining. He's still not really dirty, just the bottoms of his feet, but it's raining on him too, you know. It's raining on me too, Dante, you know. I get it, my hands are pretty cold, okay. But there's just so many things in life that we could call a rope, even if it's nothing like a rope. Anything ever in life you're tying one side over the other with, there you go. So on In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, we give a lot of free information, well, just in general. You know, a huge part of what we have, are, and always will be under In The Image Clothing Company is the gift of video. We'll always have good human being clothing and good dog products, right, under InTheImageClothingCompany.com. Staying centered, fitting correct, being made in all the ways that we can from 100% natural materials to not alter the bodies of the human beings or the dogs, right? Whatever other products we ever branch out into, I mean, that's the big focus, is the clothing, okay? In The Image Clothing Company, our 5-word name, right? No spaces between the 5 words. But, you know, leashes, harnesses, things like this where there's ropes involved, we really get pretty darn nitpicky with that. Your dog's not going to listen. You know, if your dog's just being pulled in one direction or the other all the time, you know, just like imbalances in collars and noisy things on the collars, just distracting for the dogs. Your dog will never actually walk straight if there's just a knot twisting them as the tension gets pulled, if and where it does on a lead. Ideally, they're not pulling, but you see what I mean. We give a lot of information. We do a lot of free information too, just because we're here to actually change lives. We're very, very clearly a community, not a business. You know, very, very clearly a company, not a business. In The Image Clothing Company. So, you know, we'll only deepen what we do and broaden the impact of what we do as our team builds. We actually get some human being team members. Dante is our team member in addition to me, the founder, as of today's date, the 5th of January 2026. But, you know, we're only about 15 months into In The Image Clothing Company's founding as of today's date, the 5th of January 2026. And so you know, we've got forever of this, and this is just the very beginning, as of this video at least, right? The 5th of January 2026, okay? What I am saying is there's a lot of things in life that are ropes. When it comes to leads, you know, halters for horses, mules, pack mules, like I say, a lot of our information on letting dogs stay natural under In The Image Clothing Company Poodles applies to, well, any animal it would apply to, but horses very, very directly because of things like that, you know, even saddles, just whatever you're tying. A lot of times saddles have buckles, but ropes are a big one, man. And so there's a lot of different knots we can tie in life. I mean, there's just like that traditional, typical, like shoe tying knot. You know, you just take one side over the other, tuck it underneath, and then you tie a bow after. Even that though, under In the Image Clothing Company shoelace technique, we show how to tie just a single knot in shoes, and you never have to retie your shoes. I didn't know that, you know, until just the past couple of years, you know. There's just a lot of knots in life is the point. But when it comes to just a simple knot, or really any knot where you just start with simply, if you will, tying one side over the other, we just have to realize you're tying one side over the other. It's causing a rotation. That's what's happening. And so then with the human body having its own individual rotations throughout all of it, from the hand to the shoulder, from the foot to the hip, in the spine there's rotations. Wherever we could say there's rotations in the body, they have to be neutral to have both sides of the rotation. And I love Dante so much. If we have a rope, or anything we could call a rope, just something tied one side over the other, placed onto the body, that's where this video's title comes in. Left-handed knots versus right-handed knots on In the Image Clothing Company's main side. Because it's just something we would never think about unless we did. Something human beings go their entire life often without ever even thinking about it. Tying both feet to one side, tying a rope around their waist, we call a drawstring, with one side over the other. Your entire body is the thickness of whatever the rope is, higher on one side than it is on the other. Or we can say it the other way around, but that's not really how it is, so I won't. Because that is how it is. Your entire body is the thickness of the rope around your waist higher on one side than it is on the other, depending on if you're tying a left-handed knot or a right-handed knot, if you are, around your waist. That's why we show the slip to lap knot, okay? For a drawstring under In the Image Clothing Company, there's only one way you can have your body stay centered, and that's by anything man-made you place onto it also being centered. Gravity has the same effect on our clothing as it has on our bodies, and our clothing's directly placed on our bodies. Everything we do in life, we're doing it through our clothing first. As I say, clothing truly is the only fix to human beings' physical problems. No claim it'd be the exact same thing, and we'd say it the same way if like I guess, being me, Evan Strong, because I'm the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, if I didn't have a clothing company, it'd be the same thing. It's just the truth. That's why I founded In the Image Clothing Company. It's because it's always needed, it's eternally valid, it's entirely universal. Even if your body's different, you know, we still have to do what we have to do to get as close as we can to the universal human design, because it's balanced from its center line, and there's a center to Earth's gravity. Anyway, it just is what it is. So let's discuss tops. Tops sit where the seams on top of our shoulders sit evenly behind the peak of our shoulders. Our shoulders just only ever work behind our head, and our shoulders follow the shoulder seams. Gravity, right? It's pulling down on our tops. We pivot on the collarbone or clavicle where it meets the acromion, which is the peak of the shoulder blade or scapula, and it also meets the humerus or the upper arm bone and becomes the shoulder. There's only one neutral location for the shoulder. Okay, in all aspects, forward to back, up and down, and rotations, internal versus external, anything you could say the shoulder does, it has to start in the center if it's gonna have two sides, and it has to have two sides if it's gonna move. You know, it's just what it is. The edge seams of our tops have to be as close as we can get to the edges of our shoulders. That's just where the functionality of the joint is. That's what I'm saying. Oversized clothing in itself is an imbalance because the body tries to work around it. And really what it does is pull the shoulders down to the low end of their neutral, and there's a high end from there as well. Determined by that collarbone angle or clavicle angle from the center line of the body out to the peak of the shoulder, from the sternum up to the shoulder joint, okay, where it meets those other two bones we just discussed. So anyway, it's just what it is. There's no opinion to any of this. There's just only truth to life, and any of us can understand it and have a relationship with him, Jesus Christ, the truth, right? That's another name for God, is the truth, and Jesus Christ is God. Don't believe me. I don't have some religion to preach or push, but taste and see that the Lord is good, and you'll know, right? We do what we do. We are geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ on all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company. It's in our name. In the image of Jesus Christ is who we're designed by and through and how. And so Dante and I are just standing here in the rain. Well, it's Dante sitting, I'm standing. Hey, Dante. Dante. Hi. Hi, boy. We have two things we call prerequisites in addition to just where clothing sits under In the Image Clothing Company to not alter the body. The first prerequisite of our two under In the Image Clothing Company is In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique. There you go. We discussed it in this. It's just what it is. Okay, there you go. Secondly, removing all tags from clothing is our other prerequisite under In the Image Clothing Company, just to not alter the body, in addition to where clothing sits to not alter the body. There's only one way the human body could ever work, and tags are just new, just decades ago from today's date. A lot of reason as to why is because of the skin of the body. The epidermis is a video Dante and I filmed here under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. The epidermis is the skin of the body, and the skin of the body has holes in it called pores where the perspiration or sweat comes out.